Hi, this is your Professor Judy Paparozzi. I hope you're all staying well and staying at home. I wanted to go over some of the mistakes I've seen in the first 5 of the reports that you're doing in criminal justice writing and rhetoric. Some of you are making the same mistakes even if I've edited them, and I want to reinforce what I'm trying to show you by editing your writing very, very carefully. I want to reinforce the mistakes that I'm catching so you stop making these mistakes. Now, you've practiced these grammar points in the beginning of the semester in the first half, but you're making the mistakes, which I'm very surprised about, especially run-on sentences. But let me go over some of the things that you're making mistakes on, and then I'm going to go over comma usage, because that seems to be where most of the mistakes are being made. Number 1, when you write a quotation, and you don't, by the way, you don't always have to put a quotation, like in your 4th report, when somebody called him honey and sweetheart, you didn't have to put them in quotes. It's not really a quote. Oh, he called me honey and sweetheart. But if you did, which is fine, that's fine. But a normal quotation where someone says, my name is whatever, when you have a quote, even in the middle of a sentence, it is a sentence on its own. That's why there are quotes around it, quotation marks. You've got to capitalize the first word, okay? And we set off quotations, comma, quotation mark, capital, whatever the first word is, my, comma, and then put the quotation marks after it. But if it's at the end of the sentence, period, and then the quotation marks. So that's another mistake a lot of you are making. Put periods and commas inside of the quotation marks. There's a rare time when they go outside, but put the period or a comma inside of the quotation mark. So before that last quotation mark, put a comma or a period, whatever is appropriate, quotation mark next. Now, for some reason, you are not catching the run-on sentences you're writing. So remember, if you have 2 complete sentences joined as one, a complete sentence has a subject, verb, and expresses a complete thought. And when you join them together, we call them independent clauses. It doesn't matter, but they're sentences because they meet those 3 criteria. There's a subject, whether it's I or he, it doesn't matter. There's a verb, went, had, saw, it doesn't matter. It expresses a complete thought. I went to the store. You can't just put and then start another sentence. You've got to use the comma with the conjunction. I went to the store, comma, and I bought milk, period. There was the same subject, I, in a way, but it was used twice. So if there's 2 subjects and 2 verbs, and they both express a complete thought in the sentence, you must use either a comma and a conjunction, and conjunction is a joining word, and, but, for, since. Or you can use that great semicolon and then you don't need the conjunction, or you can just put a period because they're both 2 sentences. So you're making that mistake still, and yet we practice that a lot. So try not to do it. What else? In terms of capitalization, there are only 3 rules. We capitalize the pronoun I. No matter where it is, you capitalize I. Number 2, we capitalize the first word of every sentence, and that means those quotations I mentioned to you. And 3rd, this is the toughest one, we capitalize all names. So my name is Judy Paparozzi. We capitalize the name, no question. But Professor Paparozzi, that's my title. Professor gets capitalized. Why? It's part of a name. But if I just wrote the professor gave me an A, there's no name, so we don't capitalize it. We don't capitalize captain, lieutenant, unless it's part of a person's title and name together. The key is, remember, is this a name? Don't capitalize words like marijuana, alcohol. I'm just saying weird capitalizations unless they begin a sentence. Or, like marijuana, if it's part of a crime, possession of over 50 grams of marijuana. Well, it's part of a name of a crime, so then you would capitalize it. I'm going to review the comma rules for you. Now, I love the semicolon, as you know. Do not misuse it. It can only be used twice in normal writing that you have to worry about for this class. One is, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, when you have 2 sentences, or we can also call them independent clauses. Independent means they could stand on their own if they were separated by a period. If we have 2 of them, I went to the store, semicolon, I bought milk, period. I can use it as that and the comma and. I can use it to join two sentences together that are so closely related I want to keep them together. But do not use them before words like which, or never start a list with a semicolon. A colon is when you start a list. And when we're on that topic, when you use the colon, the rule is there must be a complete sentence before you ever get to use the colon. I went to the store to buy. You can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. I went to the store to buy the following items, colon. And now you can put down the bananas, toilet paper, Purell, or whatever. But you have to have a full sentence before that colon. The same is true with the semicolon. There must be a full sentence before the semicolon and after the semicolon. But with the colon, you just need the full sentence before it. I went to the store to buy the following items, semicolon. So if you could have put a period, even though there's a list coming with a colon, if it makes sense, even without even if it makes sense standing on its own, it's just got a subject, verb, and expresses a complete thought, and you want to use a colon to do a list, you have to have a complete sentence before you get to that colon. Okay. I'm trying to think of some other things that have come up. So, but let's just switch over to, I wrote a list, but I can't understand my handwriting. Finally, commas. Commas, when in doubt, please leave them out. Do not use the thinking, oh, I hear a pause, I'm going to put a comma. Stop doing that. That is not professional in your writing. And this is a class to make you professional writers. All right, the first one I've already described. When you have two sentences, or what we call two independent clauses, that are so closely related we want to run them together in one sentence, you use a comma with a conjunction like and, but, or for. I went to the store, comma, and I bought toilet paper, period. Okay? So you have to use the comma with the conjunction. All right? That's the first use of a comma, which is the one that most of you are getting wrong. Okay? The second use of a comma, which is really simple, is I went to the store to buy the following items, colon, and then you put the items. So a series or a bunch of items. Toilet paper, comma, Purell, comma, and hand sanitizer, period. All right? So you put a comma to set off items in a list. Now, I put a comma even up until and before the and. That's called the Oxford comma. A lot of you don't do it. It's optional, but I prefer that we use the Oxford comma. I went to the store to buy the following items, colon, toilet paper, comma, Purell, which is hand sanitizer, Clorox wipes, comma, and Purell hand sanitizer. I like that. I like to set off every item in the list, okay? Now, another one that seems to be a lot of you are getting are those introductory phrases or words that really need to be set off from the rest of the sentence, like meanwhile, comma, immediately, comma, at this time, comma. Now, the rule is with most phrases, it's 4 words or more require a comma. But I would prefer in this class for you to get used to it and hear that it's extra information, this introductory phrase. Before we get to the subject or the verb of the sentence, we've given some information. When I got up this morning, comma, I got ready to go to my doctor's appointment. Okay? So I got ready to go to my doctor's appointment is the main part of the sentence because the subject is there, the verb is there, got, and it expresses a thought that I'm going to my doctor's, okay? So when I got up this morning is really extra information, so it's set off as an introductory phrase with a comma. Now, appositives, some of you are getting them, maybe overusing them. And a positive is extra information. My professor, comma, Judy Paparozzi, comma, teaches criminal justice writing and rhetoric. Now, you really don't need to know my name because you could just take out Judy Paparozzi and put, my professor teaches criminal justice writing and rhetoric, and that would be fine. But I added extra information. My professor, comma, Judy Paparozzi, comma. And so that's called an appositive. And most of you are getting that well. Now, there's another one, too. Adjectives that could take the word and between them, A-N-D, between them. That also gets a comma. For example, if you can say in your mind, oh, and does sound right there, then you would use a comma. That tall, comma, handsome man is my husband, Mario. Okay? That tall and handsome man is my husband, Mario. Okay, so because I can hear the word and between tall and handsome, I would use a comma there as well. Now, what I'm seeing a lot of is you have one subject and two verbs. One subject. I drove my car to the store and I went in and bought milk. Now there's only one subject. I drove the car to the store. But there's two verbs. Drove to the store, went in and bought milk. And there's an and in the middle. Now some of you are thinking that's two independent clauses, but you don't have. Is went in and bought milk, is that a sentence? Went in and bought milk? No, it doesn't have a subject. It does, but it's in the first independent clause. But the second one is not an independent clause because it doesn't have a subject. Remember, you have to have that independent clause or sentence has to have a subject, verb, and express a complete thought, okay? So don't put a comma there to separate one subject, I, from its two verbs. Drove to the store, went into the store. Drove and went in, went, okay? So don't use a comma unless it's for another reason, like in a positive, where there's extra information, okay? So try never to separate the subject from its verbs, all right? So one subject, two verbs, try not to use a comma unless another reason justifies it. And when in doubt, as I said, leave it out. Now for your fourth essays, I'm editing them on the Patrick O'Reilly DWI stop. But on your fifth essay, I am commenting it. I'm asking you all to watch this video and then go back and edit your work before uploading it to the assignments tab. Stay well and stay home. Thank you very much. And for all of the Christians there, happy Holy Week and happy Easter.